We are dedicated to keep everybody's loved ones safe and sound, all across the world.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm Flowerdilly. I love playing horror games, indie games, and discussing topics around their respective media. Now personally, I love Left4Dead and I've been playing it since I was a kid, and about a year ago I found this video talking about an ARG based on the game, so I will be breaking it down today for everyone, but please make sure to go watch the original to support the creator because this is an amazing series. But let's just jump straight into the video, starting with the first episode. So we start off the first episode looking at a tape created by Cedar that was said to be given to civilians to aid them with the outbreak of the green flu. For anybody that doesn't know, green flu was a name given to the virus in the Left4Dead universe to prevent panic within the public. But instead, it was taken less seriously, leading to the large scale of the outbreak we see within the game. The tape starts with a small introduction.
With the spread of green flu throughout the northeast of the USA, contact with infected individuals has become a serious danger. We, the Civil Emergency Defense Agency, have distributed the tutorial in your care package to help protect you and your loved ones with the use of safe rooms. This video will help assist you in constructing them. Do not forget to watch other media provided to you in your care package, such as green flu, as it sheds useful knowledge about the green flu infection that can be very beneficial. Now, with the introduction out of the way, let's get started.
Okay, so from this tape we have learnt that the green flu has spread throughout the USA and that they are letting the public know that contact with infected individuals is dangerous. We have also learnt that care packages are being sent to people to help them start making their own safe rooms. What's in these packages we will get to in a moment with this next segment.
Before we get started, make sure you have the necessary supplies to follow along. Critical components should be included within your Cedar care package. Door manual / toolbox, 2 safe room door parts, portable radio and batteries, green flu pamphlet, non-perishable food and water, flashlights and first aid kits. Depending on where the safe room is located, bedding and furniture may or may not be a commodity. We are not responsible for providing pillows and sheets. Wherever your safe room is located, it is your responsibility to bring luxury items. Once you are situated and ready to construct your safe room, move on to the next
segment.
So with that delightful segment, we have learned a lot. 1, sleep is considered a luxury according to Cedar, making them a lot more realistic than they need to be, and 2, something is watching us. We also shown this stick figure for the first time, which almost seems to have the left side of its face drooping grotesquely. The tape goes back to normal, and then we are taught how to put a safe room together.
Now that you have all your parts situated, let's begin to construct your very own safe room. Make sure that your safe room door booklet is by your side to help assemble the door parts. When selecting an ideal spot for your safe room, make sure it follows the safety checklist for not only your safety, but the safety of other individuals. A safe room that does not follow the safety checklist is a safe room considered at risk for failure. A failed safe room is when a safe room fails to protect the individuals inside, letting undesirable entities within or putting the individuals inside in danger. As long as your safe room follows the safety checklist, the risk of your safe room failing lowers to almost 0%. Keep in mind that even with following the checklist step by step, it does not guarantee your 100% safety. Number 1. Shelter in a fortifiable and defensible area, preferably underground. Windowless is recommended. If there are any openings, seal it up to minimize contact with the outside world. Number 2. Make sure that your safe room doors are assembled correctly. If it is, install them onto the door hinges of your shelter after removal of the previous doors. When installing, make sure they are securely fastened. This is the most vital part of keeping your safe room secured. Number 3. Make a valid effort that nothing is staring at you from the shadows. If there is, it's already too late. Let's go over what to look out for in a compromised safe room. This is a safe room that will fail. Can you spot out the reasons why? One, there are weapons in the safe room. It is illegal to harm any individual, infected or not. They are still human. 2. Insufficient supplies and depleted water. Do you hear the clanging? Rats are making the sound, nothing else. Can you spot the third reason? It's been staring in front of your face and you still can't see it. There's a starer in the room. It is staring.
Now hold on. Wait a moment. I know what you're thinking. Flowerdilly, there are no starers in Left4Dead, and that is correct, because in this ARG, they are evil. And in this first episode, of which we haven't even finished yet, they are already seeming far more dangerous as a threat compared to the good old infected we see in the game. But from the previous clip, we do learn more than that. One being what a failed safe room looks like, and 2, that the government are still classing the infected as still human.
Viewing for authorized personnel only. Viewing the following information without valid credentials will place you under arrest by proper authorities. This is for your own well-being.
The Starer is a highly rare mutation that exists among people infected with green flu, with the first encounter being at the Savannah, Georgia Liberty Mall Evac Center. It ranks a 10 out of 10 on the special infected civil scale. It is easy to identify.
What? What is he saying? I can't hear him. Oh wait, there are captions.
The next day.
This profile does not include the other things.
So wow, that was something. So from this segment we now have an explanation as to the stick figure we saw earlier, and we have a very clear indication on how they work. They hunt from the shadows, they don't care if they're seen. If hidden well enough, you can see that lovely sparkle in their eye. They are fast, they are strong, they are persistent, they will do anything to get to their prey even if it results in their own harm. They aren't always hostile, but if they are, there is an 81% mortality rate. Damn, that granny is strong. And they have social structures and are suspected to have high intelligence. Oh, we are so cooked. So cooked. And that doesn't even mention what the man said on the tape at the end. There is something else that is a large threat here. And that is all we have for episode 1. Don't get me wrong, it does make a really good start at establishing all of the new threats within this universe. But now that we are finished with this episode, time to move on to the second one. So episode 2 is called the Vannah, which is the name of the hotel scene in the Dead Center campaign in the Left4Dead game. At the start of this episode, we are greeted with the usual seated intro, and we are also given 2 news broadcasts for the weather. One was on a Sunday evening, September 6th, at around 10:23 PM, and it says to be a partially cloudy night. The second forecast we get is on the Monday morning the next day on September 7th. It says it's a stormy morning with light showers for the afternoon. Now, we're not really supposed to pay attention to the weather here. What we're really supposed to be paying attention to is the red strips at the bottom of the news report. On the first news report on the Sunday evening, it says in the bottom red bar that Jimmy Gibbs Jr. will be showing up at the Savannah Mall. In the second news report on Monday morning, it says there's a newly identified pathogen that's been located in the northeastern city of Fairfield, Pennsylvania. Experts seem to not be concerned, but want to remain cautious. The news forecast then changes to a clip of an advertisement about the Vannah, which is a hotel within the Savannah, as previously mentioned from the first campaign of Left4Dead 2.
Do you need a place to stay to see the wonderful city of Savannah?
Yes.
If you do, come book a place at the Vannah.
Peak.
With state-of-the-art clean and comfortable bedrooms and baths, highly dedicated staff,
I need to go
and
here.
room service working throughout the day and night,
Oh,
and
this is
award-winning
peak.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
I love
Famous
that.
for the very Jimmy Gibbs choosing to stay
Jimmy
with us
Gibbs
on
Jr.
several occasions. The Vannah. Need a place to stay at Savannah? Just head to the Vannah.
Oh my god, guys, Jimmy Gibbs Jr. stays here. We need to go here, guys.
8 out of 10 Americans unknowingly.
What's wrong with my TV? Another ad begins to play before being cut off, and then we begin to be shown footage of the Vannah Hotel before the green flu outbreak. We then see the following clip, which is set to be at 11:28 AM on the 22nd of September 2009.
The following is recorded footage from a camera found from the rubble.
If you are already a Left4Dead fan, you will know that this is the elevator scene in the hotel during that section of the game. After we see this scene in the elevator, we are also greeted with a countdown and then shown a candle, which proceeds to jump scare us. Trust me, it got me, it will get you too. It then cuts to footage of the fiery hallway that we see in the game. The scene then fades to white, and we are greeted by a message from the Cedar team. This message shows that they are working with the Vannah Hotel to create a Cedar Evacuation Center and encourages people to go visit. They also mention that they are providing other necessities such as food, safety, a place to stay, and evacuation for anyone who needs it. Additionally, they mention the Cedar care packages that were seen in the first episode. They also tell people that they can stay in Savannah if they wish to. This is quite interesting because normally an evacuation would mean getting everyone out as soon as possible, but they are giving people the choice to stay. They also go to mention there are other evacuation centers in Liberty Mall, which, for those of you who are new to Left4Dead, this is a major checkpoint within the first part of Left4Dead 2. They also, at some point, actually bring a matter of urgency to the situation. This is a surprise considering how much they downplayed it, given what they named the virus to begin with, by saying that the circumstances are rapidly escalating. That is all they say, but they do mention that in this tape, which I find really interesting. They also make sure to tell people not to hold off from visiting centers even if they are infected, because they don't know how many more people they're going to be able to take in. The advice provided within this tape is quite contradictory. 1, they tell you to distance yourself from others. 2, they tell you to go into a large center filled with tons of people if you think you're infected to get proper treatment. I think this is a really good point because it helps set the idea that they don't even know how to handle this situation and that they haven't handled this kind of situation before. So it really does set the picture for those scenes we see within the game where there are tons of dead people in evacuation centers. Clearly, they took in too many infected people and the proper care they promised didn't happen, and caused an outbreak within the evac centers. This probably led to where they are around the time of the game. This segment in the tapes ends with a message saying there is surely a bright light at the end of the tunnel before it cuts off and we get this next clip.
Previous segment was broadcast on television channels on September 19th to the 21st. Only 2 evacuation centers were established due to the poor preparation of management. They did not last long, both being completely overrun on the 21st. We could have saved more people. Photos of the Vannah and Liberty Mall evac centers.
As suspected from the previous bit just now, the next segment of this video is before and after shots of the Vannah Hotel and the Liberty Mall Centre. The one thing that I would like to mention is that it jumps from 2009 to 2015. The before footage was taken in 2009, but the second lot was taken in 2015. This is quite a large jump, but it shows how much civilization still remains, which is interesting and a good thing to note. But moving on, we then get more text after this footage is shown.
Most of the infected have been cleared from Savannah after weeks and countless hours of work. It's still, however, incredibly eerie once you get to the downtown area. The abandoned buildings, trashed up streets, decomposing bodies, and nature taking over everything again. Even though we are confident that most of the infected have been cleared, we can't get the feeling off that something is watching us.
Okay, so that is it for episode 2. Now that there's a lot more information thrown at us, just like the first episode, let's just do a quick recap. So, we get the weather reports, and we also have the mentions of Cedar taking more people into centres. We get our first mention of Liberty Mall, and we also get the mention of 2015. From this, we know 2 things. 1, there's a clear jump in the timeline that we have not delved fully into yet, and 2, we know the Starers were around in 2009 when the Cedar Centre packages were first given out. We also now know that there's another character at play here. We don't know if it's a Cedar officer, or if it's one of the characters we already know. This could be a new character entering the play, but we know someone is talking to us through these tapes, and that they feel guilty about the amount of lives that have been detrimented and ended from this catastrophe. Now that we've recapped episode 2, it is now time we move on to episode 3. As we've had for the last 2 episodes, we start off with our Cedar introduction. There is a slight change, however. Instead of our nice, clean, bright little Cedar logo, it's a bit more dirty this time, and there is a lot more rain. This is important because there was rain seen in the previous tapes of the aftershots of the evac centres. This is probably during the 2015 time jump. This is also confirmed as we move on to the next bit of the video, where it seems as though 2 soldiers are looking through the Liberty Mall evac centre. I will play the clip now. And don't worry, I add a voiceover just so that those of you who are doing your little artsy crafts and your video games can listen in the background.
Shouldn't we be waiting for everyone else, David? We practically cleared all of Savannah, barely ran into any infected besides a few commons this whole time. Live a little, Xavier. Nobody's been in the US that isn't a freak in 5 years. It's only natural to want to go and explore. And if we get caught off our patrols, you'll let me deal with that. The mall hasn't even been cleared yet. Then we'll clear it. Hey, wasn't this one of the 2 evac centers here at Vannah? Yeah, Liberty Mall along with that Vannah hotel not far from here. Cedar couldn't keep those doors open longer than a few days.
That's all they say for the first part, and then we get a few scenic shots before one of them speaks up again.
There goes the entrance.
Before we delve further into them going inside the mall, I just want to say that these 2 soldiers are probably the biggest idiots on the planet. This place has been filled with zombies for how long now? And they still want to go and investigate? Anyway, it seems that Cedar is sending people out for patrols in these areas, even after such a long time, probably to see if there is still infected around. There is one thing I want to mention. One of the soldiers says they haven't seen any special infected, besides a few commons. He also mentions that nobody's been in the US who isn't a freak in over 5 years, which refers to the gap between 2009 and 2015. This makes me wonder if people are actually coming to the US to see the zombies, or at least trying to sneak onto the US soil to see the infected. It means the infection could spread worldwide if it hasn't gone worldwide already, because we have no current indication of that being the case, which is not great, but I just wanted to mention that. Anyways, I'm now going to show you guys what happens when they're in the mall.
Are you sure we should be doing this, David? We'll be fine. We even went into downtown and barely found anything worthy of danger.
Boy, I wish Liberty Mall was actually this empty when I played the game for the first time.
We are already this deep in. Might as well continue going, right?
I have already cut out some of the clips from this part, keeping only the most important ones. If you want to watch the full clips, please refer back to the original. It is amazing and it deserves more support. This team of the 2 soldiers, David and Xavier, cuts off and we're met with this lovely message.
Victims continue to go deeper into the mall and then stumbled upon redacted.
We then see a hallway and at the end of it, something is redacted. There is text below the scene where Xavier is calling out for Dave and he asks,
Dave? What the is that thing?
We're then greeted with our next message.
This infected attacked both of the soldiers viciously and relentlessly, completely eating and devouring David Johnson's body, leaving almost nothing behind. We have seen some patterns of some common and special infected eating their victims, but nothing like this before. Unlike David, Xavier Thompson did survive the initial attack. but due to his abdominal region being completely destroyed, he was left to bleed out on the floor.
A YouTube URL shows up in the captions, which doesn't lead to anything. I already did check. Then we're met with the audio of the incident, which apparently the scene is too graphic. As the audio plays, the image of our lovely infected, the Starer, shows up in the background. We then get more text.
Until we get a response on our best plan of action, we will avoid going deeper into Liberty Mall.
That is the end of episode 3. From this one, we actually get to see some first-person action and movement for once, which is quite interesting and really cool. We also get to see more of Liberty Mall, which is different from what we'd normally see from the Vannah. We also now know that something is lurking in Liberty Mall, that being another Starer. The soldiers didn't really seem to know what the Starer was, as they appeared quite confused initially. This leads me to believe that maybe Starers weren't such a well-known thing back in 2009 when the outbreak first started. However, this also leads to some confusion because the tapes were giving out during the 2009 outbreak in episode 1. So I want to know, what was wrong with the tape for Starers to be mentioned at that current time? But with the ending is 3, it's time for us to now move on to episode 4 and see if any of our questions get answered. Okay, so this next video is a training tape created by C-Dub. We're not sure who is watching this for now, so we're just going to assume it's for our viewing since we're just getting into this one. What we're greeted with is a general title screen as well as some text which I'll read out now.
This tape is provided by the Civil Emergency Defense Agency to train upcoming staff. Distribution of this to the public is unauthorized, especially at this given time.
Now, this may seem like just a regular segment as seen at the beginning of a training tape or any other kind of tape, especially with a government organisation involved, but the reason I point this bit out is because at the end, a small little blip of a message shows up and it says, "This training tape seems to have been made during the initial outbreak of the green flu. This is because they do mention how recent the outbreak is and how training will have to be rushed in some places because of that. They also expect the green flu outbreak to end eventually and the trainees would have all of their training polished up at the end. This is interesting because it means that they are still taking in CEDA agents who may not be as experienced as they need to be. They start off by mentioning that there are plenty of CEDA agents for different kinds of things based on things deemed to be worldwide disasters. But the one that we are watching this for is for the people training to be a part of the Viral and Health Task Force. People within this task force are tasked with aiding individuals in marked off areas that are deemed to be biological dangers to the public or anyone who may enter them. They explain that the reason they're rushing the training is because they want people watching the tape to go to Fairfield, Pennsylvania. The reason agents are wanted to go to Pennsylvania is because the green flu has mutated there. It's gone from being just a harmless cold to a very deadly pathogen, and the building that has the first case of the mutated pathogen has been blocked off and needs investigating. This also shows yet again that this is back in 2009 and not in the 2015 time jump, because 1, the CEDA logo was normal, like it was in the first 2 episodes, and 2, the pathogen has only just started to mutate, as mentioned just now. But back to Pennsylvania, the first case has been spotted because a person who had the green flu began erratically attacking his co-workers and eventually bringing fatal harm to some of them, and it is now assumed that everybody in the building is already infected. The information in the training tape is cut off and only one word pops up on the screen.
Spread.
From here on out, the tape begins glitching erratically, which is quite unnerving considering the screams we heard in the background after the word was displayed on the screen. But we then move on to the evacuation protocols. During these evacuation protocols, they begin to mention the largest evacuation centre they are setting up, Mercy Hospital. Now, for anyone who knows Mercy Hospital, I don't need to remind you what it is, but for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, Mercy Hospital is yet again another map within Left4Dead and is pretty vital to the storyline of the game. The task force watching the tape are expected and asked to help out at this evacuation centre in Mercy Hospital. It is quite interesting to see the behind the scenes of how they set up these evac centres and the protocols they use, but before we are told these protocols, the screen goes from displaying Mercy Hospital before the outbreak to displaying it afterwards. The words then flash on the screen.
It was too fast for us to do anything. They were turning into monsters and we had to convince them they would be okay. We lost friends and co-workers when the centres got overrun. They were left for dead and either died or got infected. We had no idea what we were doing then. And I sure as hell don't know what the we are getting our hands into going back into that wasteland. Epidemic.
The scene goes back to normal where we begin to learn about the New Orleans evacuation protocols. In these protocols, we learn that people need to wear protective gear because the virus is airborne. This makes sense considering how in Left4Dead it is mentioned in the comics that the virus is airborne and ever-changing. The virus can be transmitted through various means: water, ingestion, and contact. Basically, it can be passed around through anything at a certain point. They then go to mention that if you see someone without the protective gear on, lethal force is advised. This is very contradictory and different compared to the first episode, where we are told that everyone is human, infected or not, and to not harm them. This is definitely a change, and you can see here how their thought process has switched as the outbreak has continued. They are also told they need to be in groups of 10, and if someone leaves that group, lethal force is also authorized. The same is also said for if someone begins acting erratically, such as jerking around or heading towards someone not in their group. Then we are told that if someone shows more than one single symptom of the green flu, they are taken to an infected area and executed. Then we get this segment.
And execute them. Once they go through the rest of the checkpoints and are properly authorized, they shall be eligible for evacuation. The infected, they are not human no more. 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 They are not human no more.
Once they tried and failed. They made the lights fall from the sky. They were so wonderful, so majestic, so warm. I felt the skin peel off my body. Nothing left to hide away my insides. As my skin was being vaporized. The lights failed them. The spread will continue.
Based on this video, we can already conclude that somebody is messing with these tapes, or at least something is messing with them. We don't quite know what it is yet, but it could be safe to assume that maybe it's the Starer, since we know they have a high intelligence already. We also learn more about the way that this virus is mutated and shifted at the beginning of the outbreak. We know that it started off in Philadelphia, and now we know that teams were set up for Cedar evacuation centers. We also know that the biggest one, it wasn't the Vannah or the Liberty Mall, but Mercy Hospital. But this is all we get for the 4th episode, so for now, we'll have to move on to the 5th one. At the beginning of episode 5, we are greeted with not the original Cedar intro, but instead a glitchy mess. Afterwards, we get an opening which seems to be a document about Fairfield, Pennsylvania.
After the Liberty incident, the majority of Operation Extermination activity was placed on a temporary halt. One of the few cities that was not frozen from the pause was Fairfield, Pennsylvania. Even though Cedar was practically begging us to halt activity until more is learned about the SL and the Liberty Mall, we see no problem forwarding with Fairfield as a base of operations within the city as it waits to be fully constructed. The following POIs have been documented throughout our clearing of the surrounded area. Fairfield's soon-to-be command post.
So in this document, just to summarize it for people who may not get it, is basically an introduction to multiple documents about points of interest that have been come across so far. So we'll get into those now, but before we move on to the first one, we'll see a small clip of a roof. I'm not quite sure what this roof is attached to. I couldn't really get a good glimpse of it because it was so quick, but yeah, we see that. So now moving on to point of interest 1. So we are greeted with the extermination safe room, which seems to be at the top of the building we start off at the beginning of the Mercy Hospital campaign in the first Left4Dead game. It also seems to be way more overgrown than it is in the game, probably because this is in the 2015 time jump. We are then shown 2 people talking, and oh my god, is that Nick? Let's go, it's my boy Nick. Anyway, before we can hear what the 2 men are talking about, we're cut off and brought back to our documents.
The clearing of this carrier holdout went better than originally expected. The occupiers inside were oblivious to the raid until it was already too late. Most of the occupiers were cleared from the initial rounds of gunfire. One carrier was found hiding in the bathroom tub after all the carriers were suspected to be exterminated. They were handled accordingly. Not only was this the largest, but also the closest carrier holdout from our soon-to-be HQ, consisting of a total of 17 carriers inside the building. This piqued speculation as to whether any other holdouts might be right at our doorsteps, especially when we were considering if the existence of carriers in Fairfield was even a possibility.
After this account, we then see clips of what is left of the carriers after the incident. Bodies strewed across the floor and very guilty looking soldiers. We then quickly moved on to point of interest 2. This POI is a recorded account where we are being told about a safe room that was compromised. Instead of the usual compromise, the door had been completely knocked down, furniture was destroyed, and there was absolute chaos. They aren't really sure what happened in this room, but we may find out soon enough. The now deceased inhabitant had been deemed to have been there recently as well, indicating that this is a fresh incident. Consequently, Cedar marked the room as a possible concern, and they assumed a special infected had done it. We are now left with this eerie shot of a door, and they move on to Point of Interest 3. This one is simply labelled
Encounter.
This POI consists of an interview featuring a soldier called Elijah Torres, and I will now read out the following segments.
Squadron entered the lower levels of the building to eliminate any possible infected. The private departed from the group to investigate cries for help. His search led towards the deeper interior of the building, resulting in a Whisperer encounter.
We are then shown a clip. This basically shows the account firsthand. If you'd like to go see it, you can watch the original video. Now, not only do we have McGranny Starer over there with her pack of retirement buddies, we also have a thing called the Whisperer. From the information we hear from this account, we can also assume a Whisperer is someone that mimics the cries of an injured person to get the attention of the uninfected, therefore capturing them and probably eating them. It's an interesting concept, but not very fun if you're in that situation. It's either that, or they still have the subconscious, but are simply falling into the habits the virus is making them have. And that is the end of the lovely episode 5, but before we move on to episode 6, I would like to bring up a video posted afterwards on this channel. That being a video called Better Safe Than Sorry. Now, for those of you who came for an explanation on the entire ARG and found this video, it's very likely you'd seen the Better Safe Than Sorry video first, since the algorithm seemed to really like pushing that one. Now, this video is set within the Left4Dead 1 game during the Death Toll campaign, and our main character is the priest we hear behind the door of the safe room that we need to get into. This is clearly from his perspective, considering how we see his voice lines, and we basically see all of his writings on the wall. But before I get too ahead of myself, let's break down this video step by step. Just as we're about to get into the video, we're greeted by this first image, which I'll pause and read out now. It gives us a lot more information on Starers and what Cedar is in them so far, which is very concerning.
Chapter 1. Before, the Starer is a rare mutation that exists among Greenflow's population. It is easy to identify due to having half its body droopy and distorted, giving off the appearance of melting cheese with boils running down the distorted half. This infected stalks non-infected, staring from a distance. They aren't always hostile and may leave without conflict after a while. However, when they are hostile, they will follow a target persistently and find an opening to attack. These infected are very agile and strong. Nearly all encounters with a hostile Starer end with some kind of casualty. Starers like to hunt in packs between 10 to 30. Although the Starer isn't as smart as other infected on this list, this infected is quite intelligent and shouldn't have its wits underestimated.
So now we not only have confirmation of the information we already knew before, including its appearance, its ability to decide whether it's hostile or not, and its level of strength and intelligence, but we also now know that they like to hunt in packs of 10 to 30. The big 3-0. I'm serious. This is bullshit. That is very concerning. It's a lot to deal with at once, considering how strong they are and what happened to the last time there was only one Starer in a room. It is safe to say that if you encounter a pack of 10 to 30, you are definitely cooked. We are then shown a few shots from the Death Toll chapter, specifically of the church and its interior and some of the infected, as the priest crazily rambles on about the fact he's been bit. We are then shown an arm with a bite mark on it, and the word infected appears on the screen. Before I continue, I'm just going to show you.
No, I can sit here until I know you're immune. I'm sorry.
As you can now see on the screen, our priest has been turned into a smoker. This is the first mention of any original special infected from the game we've had so far, considering how we've mostly heard about only new special infected like the Whisperer and the Starer. If you turn the captions on, you then get to read this.
The smoker class rates a 6 out of 10 on the special infected scale. This class is easily recognizable by 1. Constant coughing, 2. Cancerous tumors that can be presented anywhere on the body, 3. Dirty smoke type gas emitting from itself, and 4. An almost tongue-like appendage dangling from its mouth or either the side of its head. The smoker likes to stay within the shadows, preferably on high ground where it can stalk its prey. When it's ready for an attack, it will straighten to the posture and yell a raspy scream before launching its tongue-like appendage out of its mouth and towards its target, being able to reach surprising distances. The smoker will try to ensnare its target within its tongue-like appendage, squeezing them with high force, and pull its victim towards itself to mercilessly swing at the target's skull until the death of said target due to brain damage. The smoker isn't as dangerous up close and personal compared to a standard common infected, as it it needs prep time to perform its attack unprovoked. However, the Special Infected can be super dangerous at long distances without proper safety measures on hand. This Special Infected can lead you into a situation where your death is unavoidable.
So this tells us that smokers are a relatively high but not extremely dangerous threat. It also tells us how it attacks and how it works. It's similar and almost exactly the same to the game mechanics for the smoker, so I won't repeat any of that. If you want to know how that works, I was thinking about doing a video based of all of the Left4Dead mechanics for the Special Infected. If you want to see that, please comment down below. But for now, we have more information on the Starer and we have more information about the smoker. Now that we finished off that part, we move on to episode 6. It can only get worse from here, I'm just gonna say this now. At least for our characters. This ARG is peak. So for episode 6, we are yet again greeted by the average introduction to the videos we've seen so far, and then we're immediately cut off by wanting to discard the tape if we're not authorised to watch it, that being anyone who doesn't work at CEDAR or within the USA government. We are then greeted with what seems to be an interview between someone working at CEDAR and someone else in a hazmat suit. The agent questions,
Did you know that those witches are attracted to sugar?
the person in the hazmat suit then responds with,
When we were low on gas on our way here, my buddies Nick, Coach, and Rochelle and I had to go to the sugar mill with the storm on the way. I'll tell you that you would have thought a shopping party was going on because, Lord Jesus, you could have jumped into them on every corner. I've never seen that many witches in one place. The storm that came through later drew them away, though. I didn't know that. Could you tell me more?
We then see clips of the Vannah with rain overlaying it.
It was raining a couple days before the storm. The storm before the storm, you could say. I heard the Vannah was a good hotel. Even the legendary Jimmy Gibbs stayed there. If Jimmy Gibbs stayed there, then you know it must have been quality service. Must have also had some delicious food to serve Jimmy Gibbs. I mean, I would think, as a food expert myself. Anyways, I heard that the evacuations were going smoothly at the hotel and more because things haven't gone wrong yet. Speaking of which, I don't even think any zombie was actually in Savannah yet. I didn't see any at least, but I knew that the flu was in the area. Most of us kind of ignored the warnings on TV. Why? Because they only told us that cities like Fairfield and Newburgh were rioting due to the flu. They didn't know zombies were the ones responsible. Crazy how much shit can change in a few days. So much happened that day. It seemed like everything turned upside down when I woke up. That's when they decided to tell us the green flu can turn us into zombies. I went straight for the Vannah Center, praying that they were still evacuating. I navigated through all the chaos, but I barely missed the heli along with a couple other folk. We figured out that New Orleans was the last station left on the east coast from the zombies. We tried seeking haven at Liberty Evac, but that was deserted. We traveled long and far, doing some crazy shit to get where we are now. Is there anything else for you to know?
That was a lot at once, but what we can tell from here is that we're now being shown our beloved characters from Left 4 Dead 2, Ellis, Coach, Rochelle and Nick. I wouldn't say shown yet technically because this is an interview with the mention of them. This could be anyone if you're new to Left 4 Dead, but for those of you who aren't, which is most of you, we can all pretty much tell the first person being spoken to is definitely Ellis. We know damn well he rambles on quite a bit. What I don't know is whether it switches from Coach towards the end or not, because the way the speaker talks changes. He mentions being a food expert, and I haven't heard many voice lines from Ellis mentioning food, so they could have switched from Ellis to Coach in between the interviews in that segment. This means Cedar is taking them in and is interviewing them. We don't know what the intentions are yet, but that could explain why we saw Nick early in one of the last episodes. So far, we've finally gotten a mention of our favourite characters from Left 4 Dead 2, but let's continue on. We then get a small segment explaining how to deal with the threats and what constitutes a threat to evacuees at evacuation centres. From this, they mention what carriers are. We haven't really had much detail on this so far, but we get a quick explanation. Carriers are people who carry the green flu, but don't experience any symptoms or physical harm from having it. However, they do pass on to everyone else they come into contact with because they carry the pathogen. We then see this following segment.
If there is a carrier that has been identified throughout the evacuation and the carrier center is already full, take them to the designated quarantine area.
These ain't zombies. Somebody's been shooting people.
Somebody? Christ, Coach, you know who did that.
Now this has got to be one of my most favourite parts ever added to a horror ARG, especially this Left 4 Dead horror ARG, because this is absolutely perfect. They've used the voice lines of our beloved characters so well. It really creates this eerie scene where the characters do know what's going on with CEDAR. They know that CEDAR or some kind of government party has killed all of these supposedly non-infected people for no reason, which sets a tone for how the group is going to feel towards CEDAR when they've been taken in, as we see now. But after we get this really eerie scene, we get a slow-mo as a blank silhouette comes onto the scene with the text I will read out now.
Following are the photos of carriers who were responsible for the shots fired at West Bank side of Veterans Memorial Bridge. They were picked up by Rescue 7 after travelling along said bridge and brought into the offshore aircraft carriers for questioning and tests. Note: Wendell Coach Jones. A good solid Christian man and leader of the group. He seems to have done a good job doing his job. He is a coach after all, enjoys Burger Tank, and has a fondness for Jimmy Gibbs. Note: Nicholas Murphy. They refused to answer any questions, only responding with the word bitch. Kept on reiterating that we were only simply going to kill them all, so there's no point in answering anything. Notes: Rochelle Eitz Langley, a news reporter, was sent to Savannah to cover Cedar's evacuations. She's a pretty smart woman with a good sense of humour and is a big fan of the band Depeche Mode. Notes: Ellis Gilman, the youngest of the group, good personality, was easily the most timid at the start of interrogation. Once he felt comfortable, every little thing turned to a half-hour story. If there was anything the others would not tell us, he would easily give the ball away. We were given the authorization to neutralize them after gaining all of the info we could extract from them. They are a risk to everything and everybody around them. But right before we can, Cedar offered to take the carriers off our hands to an undisclosed location. They said that they don't need to be shot in a controlled environment, also commenting about how they have the capacity to treat the carriers more humanely than we do. Which is fine with us, as long as it's not on USA soil. We are responsible for everything that happens here now with the green flu. They at least confirmed it won't be on any sort of continental bodies, so there are no opportunities for green flu to spread anywhere else. Unless you did something stupid. I wouldn't put it past them.
We are left with that for episode 6, but oh my god, it is probably one of my most favourite episodes out of season 1, and there are two main reasons for this. One, we finally get to see our favourite characters again, Rochelle, Nick, Coach, and Ellis, because they are simply amazing and just great. Two, we get more insight into how Cedar and the government aren't really getting along, even though they're still coinciding with each other out of mutual respect. We don't know what Cedar wants to do with our favourite four yet, so we just have to wait and see for episode 7. Let's hope nothing bad happens to them. So, for the opening of episode 7, we're greeted by Coach talking to someone who seems to be a soldier called Elston Galloway, as seen by the text on the bottom of the screen. Coach seems to be wanting the soldier to recall something, and as he begins to, we see a video of somebody being very distraught and aggressive about what happened to David and Xavier, the two people we saw walking into Liberty Mall and getting killed by a Starer in a previous episode. The angry soldier then mentions how someone by the name of Sergeant Dunkhoud has notified them they're going to be going further into the mall the next day. The soldier does not seem to be put off or afraid by this, however. In fact, he seems quite thrilled about the fact he's going to be finding out what on earth killed the only two people he tolerated. The name Malik Summers popped up on the screen, before we quickly cut off to something else. It's an animation. A very high quality one, might I add, because the quality of this ARG has been getting better and better as time's gone on, which is amazing. I really want to delve into some more of the remade versions of the certain parts, and I'll be doing some comparison videos when those are available. Make sure to keep an eye out for that. The animation shows a bunch of soldiers getting ready to go into Liberty Mall. We are then redirected to a message that's been left unread from Cedar. It's sent to the same sergeant mentioned earlier who planned to clear out Liberty Mall, but this message from Cedar is specifically telling them, and practically begging them not to follow through with this plan. They bring back mention of Xavier and David, the two soldiers who died to the Starer. There is a new message shown to us from the World Alliance for Green Flu Eradication, WAGE for short. This message is also directed towards Sergeant Dunkhoud, and this time it's actually advising him to go into the mall if he deems it the best course of action for the time. This is a very big contradiction to the last message that was given, so I can see why the sergeant did what he wanted to do. In that situation, I probably would have done what I felt was best, although I probably wouldn't have stormed to a mall with a bunch of man-eating monsters in it, but it's all up to interpretation and everyone wants to do what they want to do with their life. If the sergeant wants to run into a mall and get eaten up, then he can run into the mall and get eaten up. It's quite interesting, especially considering how these messages are back to back. Continuing on with the message. We then brought back to the conversation between the soldier and Coach. He starts by describing it as a massacre and explains how it all began with the David and Xavier incident. He also mentions how Dunkhoud actually got 20 of the soldiers to come with him into the building. He then describes the feeling of being watched at the time, even though the whole place was empty. Every time he looked behind him, or at the place he thought he was being watched from, he saw nothing. Now, if that were anyone else, especially me, I probably would have taken it as a sign to get the hell out of there, but you know, for the plot, they stayed. He then goes to mention that the mall had become home to a whole group of Starers. Now, this is a small issue considering the fact that we've learned from previous videos that these hunt in packs of 10 to 30. There are only 20 soldiers, and one managed to take out 2 of them the last time we saw a Starer incident. Even if there were only 10, they would still be kinda screwed. In the animation, we see a soldier turn and get attacked by this thing. Now, we're not quite sure what this is. It could be a Starer, but it has 2 glowing eyes, which leads me to believe it's something else. Its face is also completely red, so this definitely means it might be something else entirely. When we get a longer shot of it, it seems to be very, very scarily tall in a way that should not be allowed. It is terrifying. I hate it. Shoot it. But alas, we continue on and he explains how this new infected seemed to have been working with the Starer. The Starers attacked the soldiers from behind while this new creature attacked them from the front with great aggression. That's all we get for now, however. The interview between the soldier and Coach ends, and we've reached episode 8. We get this epic jazz solo to start off the episode being labelled Green Flu, and I've got to say, the green colour palette suits you, Cedar. It suits you. Now, for the first time from the captions, it seems as though somebody's actually watching this tape. They immediately seem to be looking for some kind of answer from it, which is pretty interesting considering we've never really had much secondary comment on these tapes unless it's from me, so. We are shown the first table of contents with only 4 things being mentioned: the green flu, infection and infected, immunity and carriers, and resources. Funnily enough, our spectator here also seems to question why on earth there are no timestamps for this tape, but that's probably because it's VHS and you can't really figure out what time is when. But our spectator decides that it was probably just due to the rush of Cedar trying to get the tape out as soon as possible. We then get this section.
What is green flu? The green flu is a newly discovered pathogen that is no different than a common cold. However, it is now mutated to a severe illness affecting countless people through the northeast US. This video is to help you learn and understand what the green flu, GFO9, is and how to identify infection and immunity to the pathogen. Keep in mind, we are still very early into this epidemic. Information in this tape may be outdated or subject to change as we learn more about this pathogen at a later date. We as Cedar have always made an effort to be 100% transparent with everyone across the globe. We are not withholding any information about the green flu. You are still you.
At this point, it seems as though our spectator is finally up to commenting something again, making note that they already knew they were well aware that they were still themselves. But even they seem to doubt themselves a little bit, drifting off slightly after saying a second, "I know." Which is interesting to note so far, but we keep pushing on from here.
About the green flu. The first ever documented case of the green flu is in late August in Fairfield, Pennsylvania before its severe mutation. The pre-mutation green flu is akin to a less deadly flu, although what initially caught our concern was its extreme infectivity and mutation rate. In early September, green flu mutated into an early form of what it is today. We have an attempt to contact trace to avoid the spread, but due to GFO9's extreme infectivity, all attempts turned out futile. Green flu has now been inflicting chaos all across the east coast of the USA, causing pain and suffering throughout the affected zone.
Our spectator then goes on to say, "Pain and suffering, tell me about it," before the next slide comes onto the screen.
We have no clue what green flu exactly is, as direct observation of GFO9 is extremely limited due to the nature of the pathogen. Theories have circulated claiming it's a new variant of rabies, or VCGD, mad cow disease. None of these theories have concrete backing at this time.
This is the end of the segment telling us about green flu, but it does make some interesting and good points here, as it seems as though we're getting hints at a spectator of this tape actually having green flu. They also mention rabies and mad cow disease, which was speculated by both fans of the game and within the game lore itself. It's quite interesting because you'll see during one of the chapters, I'll put it on the screen, that Cedar was actually going to livestock-packed areas to test cows for mad cow disease. But the tape begins to move to explaining how transmission works.
Transmission. There are multiple ways for an individual to contract green flu. Bodily fluids. Blood, saliva, mucus or bile entering through body openings. Eyes, ears, nose and mouth. Open wounds. Bites, scratches, cuts, etc. Air contact. If green flu mutates to do so without warning, it can begin to spread via air for a brief but deadly amount of time. Symptoms. When infected, there are 2 stages to green flu after the incubation period. Docile stage. Aggressive stage. Incubation time can wildly vary from a few minutes to days. It ultimately depends on the person's tolerance to the virus, and it seems like you don't have much. In this stage, symptoms of green flu may begin to be apparent. The infected individual may begin to fall to the virus, but they maintain their sanity for the time being. They may begin to exhibit flu-like symptoms, including but not limited to headaches, runny nose, itchy throat, difficulty swallowing, weakness, pale skin, sensitivity to bright lights, and hallucinations.
After that truckload of information is thrown at us, we then see a small "shut up" appear in the captions at the bottom of the screen. Uh-oh. It seems like our spectator here might be experiencing a few hallucinations. Either that or this tape has been tampered with, but I'm more willing to wager on the first option. A small little U hovers in the text above the docile figure on the screen. Our spectator does not seem very pleased with this, growing increasingly more agitated as he reiterates that the stick figure is not him. The music stops. Eerily so, as we reach the aggressive stage. Aggressive stage. Once an infected individual has started lashing out on non-infected, they are considered to be at aggressive stage. At this point, the green flu has gotten a good grip of the victim, and most, if not all, sanity and reason has been lost, as you soon will experience. This stage is usually accompanied with, but not limited to, seizures, vomiting, diarrhea, internal bleeding, muscle spasms, brain damage, body disfigurement, and extreme aggression. They are still human. Violence committed against people that are infected is still illegal. The spectator seems to be very against this point, explaining how he won't do this or won't become like this. He simply brushes it off, saying he's fine and just not feeling well from exhaustion, and it doesn't help that his neighbour attacked him earlier today. However, what he doesn't know is, it's already inevitable. He's going to turn.
There is no immunity to the green flu. A better way to describe it is tolerance. Incubation time and the amount of time in the docile stage are completely reliant on the amount of tolerance the body has to the green flu, and how long it can withstand the pathogen before succumbing. Only a tiny fraction of the general population has a gene that makes them immune to the green flu's effect while still harboring the pathogen and being able to spread it freely. These people are classified as carriers. Carrier. Carriers are individuals who carry green flu but suffer little to no effects. They are able to keep their sanity. A good carrier is a dead carrier. A good carrier.
The tape finally glitches out and we get more text on the screen. I'm infected. There's no point in denying it anymore. I'm actively losing myself. I can't even tell if half the shit I watched was in my head or not. I'm so thirsty. I can't drink anything without gagging it out. I swore I was blacking out in the middle of watching this. What is happening to me? Why is this happening to me? I don't want to end up like the thing my neighbours turned into. These infected, they're not human at all. Not anymore. There's no treatment for this infection. But I have to do this. The dialogue ends, and to put it nicely, we get two not so great options. You lose either way. You can either choose to shoot or not. I'm going to go over both of these now. Starting with if you do shoot. A heavy, almost grating noises in the background of this video as they mention how they can feel the flu melting their brain and they have no choice. They say they refuse to become one of its servants before begging the Lord for forgiveness, and well, I'm pretty sure we know what happens next. If you select the do not shoot option, they call themselves a coward before a stick figure appears on screen and slowly fades into mist, leaving only an outline before fully disappearing. Then we get recommended another video called Claws. I didn't mention this before, but if you select the shoot option, you actually get recommended a video called Resign. However, I will not be talking about these until part 2. I'm planning to do a part 2 based on the season 2 of this series. Also, this video is getting way too long already, and I want to save everyone the hassle, so... Hello everybody! Thank you so much for making it this far into the video. It really does mean a lot considering how much time I put into making a video like this. One, because it's my first time, and two, because there's just a lot of content to cover. It took me about 3 to 4 days just to do research, scripting, and recording alone, let alone editing. We didn't talk about the editing. But yeah, I have really enjoyed making this. I love Left4Dead, and I love this ARG so much, and we still have a part 2 to do, because there is a second season to this. So, if you want to watch that, and you want to join the Silly Dillies, make sure to subscribe, and if you also enjoyed this video, make sure to like and comment. I would love to see all of your opinions on this ARG down below, and I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay amazing, I love you all so much, mwah! Goodbye! Okay, I don't know if this is picking up audio correctly, but it is. There's my cat. The reason I've been struggling to record. 1 second. Bullet. Bullet. Buddy. What are we doing? I'm trying to record. Okay, bye. Get one cuddle. Let me kiss. I know you can leave, because I know that's what you want to do now.